Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. We're at GearFest 2014, and we're joined by producer-engineer Bil VornDick.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Oh, my pleasure.
Good to see you. Glad to have you here.
This is a great facility.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, and it's packed with people today.
Yeah, and it's all toys outside.
All toys. Yeah.
Toys for the boys.
Exactly. Now, you're here on behalf of Mike Tech Microphones.
Yes.
Going to be doing a seminar on recording acoustic instruments.
Yeah, shortly.
Yeah, what kind of things are you going to be covering?
Different ways of miking guitars, mandolins,
Right.
and banjos.
Nice.
For all those people that love banjos.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's in country music now.
Sure, sure. Well, you're well known for doing the acoustic music stuff.
Yeah.
You do all kinds of music.
Music,
but you're
yeah.
well known for that, working with Bela Fleck,
Oh, yeah.
Alison Krauss, Ralph Stanley, long line of incredible artists, 8 Grammys,
Yeah.
40 nominations, more than 40 nominations, something like that.
Yeah. There's 47, I think, at this point.
Incredible, incredible.
And I just finished mastering Jerry Douglas's new project with the Earls of Leicester.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's great.
Everybody got up and played it like manly men.
Mm-hmm.
No overdubs.
Nice. Nice. Everybody in one room and just
Did it.
roll the hard drive.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's it. Yeah, run the whole, the hard drive.
So you got started as a musician and a songwriter, right?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I signed with a publishing company in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
But I played in a rock and roll band. But I guess I was about 9 or 10 years old. I had written some songs, and the neighbor had a walnut sack tape recorder,
Mm-hmm.
and I just never stopped.
Yeah. Nice. Now, you made a connection with Chet Atkins fairly early on.
Yes, when I was 19.
How did that happen?
A friend heard me in D.C., and Chet was playing a show. I think it was a show at Wolf Trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did a thing out in Maryland.
Right.
And he took me to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to spend some time with Chet.
That's great.
And Danny Davis,
Mm-hmm.
the Nashville Brass.
Mm-hmm. So was it Chet that kind of pushed you to move to Nashville?
Yeah, he told me about Belmont.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved down and got my degree there. And they came out, and then Marty Robbins grabbed me to be his chief engineer.
How did that happen?
I was doing Loretta Lynn's publishing company demos.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Scotty Moore, the guitar player for Elvis, was the engineer, but he also had a duplicating company where they made cassettes.
Right.
And he didn't want to be an engineer anymore. And Marty came by and sat over on the couch in the corner, scared me to death.
Yeah.
And he came up in between an overdub, introduced himself, and like I didn't know who he was. And he asked if I could meet him the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in that afternoon and met him and everything, and I thought I had done something wrong, and he asked me if I'd like to be his chief engineer.
Wow.
I didn't even ask what it paid.
Yeah. Just said yes.
Yeah.
They heard something he liked.
Yeah, I guess. And Scotty Moore had recommended me for it, and Lou Bradley and some people over at CBS.
Those are good recommendations.
Because when I was going to Belmont, in the evenings I'd go sit watch sessions
Mm-hmm.
and learn from the masters.
Right. Right. So you also then worked with Ralph Stanley.
Yes, I produce a lot of albums with Ralph. I'm getting ready to do a very large project and a documentary on Ralph.
Great. Now, you did a compilation with a whole bunch of artists doing duets with him, right?
Yes, it was called Clinch Mountain Country, was the first one, and there's 34 artists on that one.
Wow.
And then Clinch Mountain Sweethearts that had 17 girls on it,
Wow.
and Dolly.
So how do you get all those artists to kind of get their thing together and everybody in?
Just logistics. Fortunately, I knew most of the artists anyway, so I didn't have to go through the managers and the labels.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you have to make the deal with the label because you're releasing a product.
Right.
But that was a lot of fun. And it was my ambition to try to get Ralph as a member of the Grand Ole Opry. And that album helped him to get that.
That's great.
Yeah, because I felt Ralph needed to be there. Bill Monroe had passed,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the next statesman, and I wanted Ralph to be able to enjoy that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So how did you make the connection with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones?
Gosh, when I was a teenager in early 20s in D.C., I could get into bluegrass festivals for free, and there are a lot of them in the Mid-Atlantic area. So if I did the sound all day at the Carlton Haney festivals, I got all the cheeseburgers, French fries, and Cokes, and I got in for free if I did the sound for 14 hours, 15 hours a day.
Oh, that's a good deal.
I thought, what a deal.
Yeah.
So I knew most of the artists anyway,
Mm-hmm.
coming up, when I was young. And I was a picker, and after the show was over, I'd pick up a guitar, mandolin, or fiddle, and go out and pick, till 4 or 5 in the morning, get a couple hours sleep, get back to do the sound.
Next day, yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful.
So Bela, when Marty Robbins passed, Jerry Douglas and Bela wanted me to start doing bluegrass, and at that point I was doing, mainline country music.
Mm-hmm.
But my heart is with the musicians and the singers that can play and sing
Okay.
without having to be fixed. How should I say that correctly?
Right.
In most pop music right now, everybody depends on plugins to fix things, and I like to play with the guys and girls that can actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in bluegrass, either you play and you sing and you're good, or you don't work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Bela's a lot of fun, and Jerry's, gosh, I guess I've been doing recording Jerry for about 31 years now.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're still having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, your approach that you've told me about in the past is a lot of times to get the musicians all in one room. And one of my favorite albums you've done is Douglas Barenberg and Meyer, Hop, Skip, and Wobble, where I assume the three of them were there.
Oh, yeah.
And you were just mentioning you'd been working with a group where everybody was all. What are the challenges as an engineer when you're arraying those instruments and trying to record them?
The phasing of the mics and the locations, and trying to get it where everybody can see everybody. In Skip, Hop, and Wobble, everybody was pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And we went for the take.
Right?
Yeah. Like
And
the
of course,
old days.
musicians on that level, they just play it down? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're that good.
Right.
It's nowadays, I mean, with the pop sessions and stuff, it's very hard to get a musician's concentration on the song for 3 minutes. And I grew up in the ranks in Nashville where everybody played the song down, and usually the second take, the rehearsal, and then the take was it. They didn't make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
because there wasn't the iPhones, there wasn't the television for that generation, the A-team, when they grew up after the war. I mean, they played their instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So your recommendation is to practice and focus
Yes.
to get things to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And just relax, have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, when people are having fun, they get things done.
Right. Right. Now you've been using the Mic Tech microphones.
Yes.
How are you using those?
Oh gosh, on drums, on acoustic guitars, on vocals.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a particular choice for, say, acoustic guitar?
The C5s are really nice.
Mm-hmm. And what do you like about those?
They're not over bright, and they sound like the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times in miking, if you have a dull instrument, you're trying to brighten them up, so I would use other mics. But if it's a natural sound of the instrument that I'm trying to capture, mic techs are nice and clear.
Right, right. So do you use them on upright bass and banjo and all those instruments?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
Today I'm going to be using the C5 and the C7 on the banjo.
Mm-hmm.
But on the mandolin, I'm going to use a C5 and a CV3,
Mm-hmm.
which has got a little bit more beef, like an 87.
Okay.
Or a 67 would be a better description.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But working with like Sam Bush for so many decades, and knowing back when he first stood on stage at the festivals and doing the sound, I never in my lifetime thought I would ever see him stray from a KM84.
Right. But there you are with the mic techs.
Yeah, and Bela's got mic techs now.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, because they care about what people are hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And the mics are very transparent. They don't have a color.
Mm-hmm. So when you mic an instrument, whether it's banjo or mandolin or acoustic guitar, do you typically mic that in stereo, or do you use one
Stereo.
mic? Uh-huh.
Because I like to hear instruments in stereo.
Mm-hmm. You feel it gives them more depth? Or?
It gives them more depth, and then you can place it within the mix depending on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can tighten it up, or widen it out, but I never go full left or right.
Okay. All right. And that still gives you space to get the other instruments in if it's a group? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Now you're also known for really giving back to the industry. You do a lot of things on behalf of the industry. You're working with the Musicians Relief Fund.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, helping Ralph Stanley get into the Hall of Fame. You teach.
I taught at Belmont. I just resigned because of my schedule. I have some large projects coming up.
Right.
But I would give back on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
I would teach at Ocean Way, the finishing class for Belmont. The guys that are getting ready to go into their senior year and the last audio class. And when they come out of my class, then they can be assistants at Ocean Way until they graduate.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also get to book studio time at Ocean Way, perk time.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a 5.5 hours, 10 o'clock to 3:30. Except on drum day, that took me to about 7 o'clock.
Wow.
But I don't have the time to teach during the week.
Schedules get tough.
Yeah.
Right. So what is it that inspires you to give back like that? What are you looking to accomplish?
Well, I mean, Chet took the time for me, and a lot of people, I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I used to watch a guy by the name of George Massenburg cut bluegrass albums in Washington, D.C.
Sure.
He recorded the Seldom Scene and a bunch of bluegrass albums. And he took the time and, kind of to tell me, filled me in. And
So you're passing it along.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, it's an art form. So unless you have someone to mentor, and I was mentored, and I like to help the students follow their dream.
Right.
And it's the years later when you get the emails, when you've helped somebody along and they finally got to where they wanted to be in life. And they send an email, thanks. I got one this past Christmas. I'm involved with the nearest archival doc. And I had one student who wanted to work for the Library of Congress. And I knew some people there, and I got him an internship. And now he's working full time.
That's great.
I know. And gosh, what a smorgasbord. The Library of Congress, being an archivist.
Yeah. It's all there, right?
Yeah, it's like being the librarian at the Library of Congress. I mean, if you like reading,
Yeah, right. That's great.
I mean, he can hear everything that was ever recorded.
So if someone doesn't have the opportunity to attend a school like that to study with somebody like you, how do you recommend they get started and educate themselves?
Well, you can always start at a 2-year program. A good example, I've been on the advisory board of South Plains College for 22, 23 years now. That's a 2-year program in Levelland, Texas, just out of Lubbock. And a lot of students there will transfer to MTSU or Belmont. We're in a state now that if you're going to proceed and want to do something in the industry, that you have to have a bachelor's degree. If you want to teach, you have to have a master's degree.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the people that know what they're doing not necessarily have masters. And Belmont will let you teach if you don't have a master's. I mean, I have an undergrad from there, but and just follow your dream. You spend time on your art. Right. The microphone doesn't make the hit record. The plug-in doesn't make the hit record. The artist and their performance makes the difference if someone's driving down the road, if they're going to listen to that song in 10 seconds or they're going to change the channel.
Right.
Yeah. And our gig as engineers is to try to help them through it.
Right. What a great gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cream comes to the top every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Bill, thanks for coming in.
Oh, sure.
Such
My
a
pleasure.
pleasure to have you here.
It's good seeing you.
Oh, thank you very much. It's just
Fantastic.
so fun to have you.
This is a fantastic facility.
We're looking forward to your workshop this afternoon.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Coming up pretty soon.
Thanks again, Bill.
Sure.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute.